Hello there. It's time to start skinning the bus. The roof race is done as per last video. Now it's time to wrap it off and seal it off from the elements. It's exciting to start. We're gonna go ahead and start with the back cap. Basically the idea, from what I've seen, it's better to, and it makes sense, it's better to start from the back and work your way up the sides so that the laps kind of are going over the last sheet as it goes back. That way, if you're driving on the highway and it's raining, all the rain comes through and doesn't want to slip through the laps if you do it the opposite way. Just don't, I don't plan on backing up at 60 going down the highway, so I think that should be fine. But yeah, the tricky part for the caps obviously is going to be that they have to round a little bit. So the idea is to round it in such a way where it hooks on and rivets into this this corner hat channel. Might have to do some cutting, honestly, because I didn't really consider that it's probably going to end up finishing off like right here. You know, if it was possible that it went all the way to this hat channel, that would be ideal, but I can't quite remember how long I made the sheet because it was a pretty long one. I think it was like a 10-footer, so it might actually make it there. But the challenge there is rounding it and making it actually look decently nice. So I guess we'll see how that goes, but I'm gonna get to it. I might add some supplemental framing pieces up from this. I don't really know if it's necessary, honestly. It's not really for structural like integrity of the bus. It's mainly just to make sure that stuff isn't flopping around. Maybe I'll do it on the front only, we'll see. But I'm gonna get to that, show you guys as much of the process as I can remember to film, and hopefully get this back cap up today. If we get the back cap up today, I'll feel very accomplished. So let's get to that. Alrighty, so we got a test fit going, kind of using the rooftop tent as a platform. If you don't have scaffolding but you have a rooftop tent, this makes a great little platform to stand on. But a little test fit going, not looking too bad. It's definitely not going to be long enough to hook into that other set of hat channels, this one right here, which is fine really, because we're going to have another sheet that completely covers it, so that's not really going to be an issue. But it doesn't look too bad with the test fit. I still have to come along and basically clean up the outside of here, try to flatten out the rivet holes wherever I can, just to make it a little bit cleaner to rivet through. And then we're gonna have to go through and drill out all the holes as well. We can drill out through the outside for the top and inside through the bottom, just to make it a little bit easier that way. But yeah, it's coming along. Let me show you it from the inside. Yeah, so basically the biggest challenge is getting it wedged up to where I want it. And honestly, even a little higher would be great. Might try to just really push it up there as much as we can, just to make sure it lines up nice and evenly with the bottom here, because this is on the inside, so it doesn't, I'm not gonna say it doesn't matter where the top of this is, but we have a little bit more play there to make it look nice. Less trimming I have to do after the fact. But yeah, this little truck strap system comes in handy, because that thing it's not heavy, it's just awkward and really floppy. So it's gonna be kind of a truck strap situation for the rest of the sheets too. But yeah, once we have this all riveted in, which I'll video for you guys, do a little time lapse of the riveting, we can start moving on to getting the sheets put on from that way on towards the front of the bus. Kind of a similar lapping thing that we're doing. We're going to be going under this rain guard here in the top, so we're going to have to pry that out just a slight bit to fit the sheets in, and then we're going to be prying out this rub rail here and tucking it in there. The sheet metal is actually a perfect width to where it, or height I guess, to where the bottom of it comes right into the middle of the rub rail, so it'll be all nice and riveted through. So I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get to cleaning this up, and we'll check back in with you later. Okie dokie, so I'm taking a slight break from the end cap and just making a jig up for how I'm gonna space my holes on my hat channels. I got the setup right here. I got this piece of 1/4 inch steel plate that's about the exact width of the hat channel. I'm gonna drill a hole or a couple holes in the top through the existing hat channel holes. So I'll put a couple bolts through these holes along the hat channels to keep the plate in place. And I went ahead and marked down 4 inches from every hole. This is the best way that I can think of to keep everything uniform and spaced evenly. So I'm gonna go ahead and make that up. I'll show you guys what it looks like after the fact, and then we can get on to drilling out all the hat channels and preparing that for some sheet metal. Alrighty, so the jig is made up. Just gonna start going around and drilling out these holes that are already there, and then go back along with the jig and drill out the holes that are in the hat channel now. Gonna go ahead and get to that. Well, you might have seen me take a little break there from drilling to count, and you're correct. I took some time to count. I ordered 1,000 rivets thinking, of course, 1,000 rivets is gonna be enough to rivet the bus. No way the bus needs more than 1,000 rivets. Turns out, if my counting's correct, probably missed a couple here or there, it needs 1,713, give or take a couple. So I'm gonna go inside right now, place another order for another 1,000, because I can almost guarantee you a good portion of those rivets are gonna come either a little bit busted, I'm gonna mess them up somehow, I'm gonna lose some. So yeah, that's a bummer. Hopefully they come in time to not wait on them. That would stink. We're kind of on a time crunch right now too, because you can kind of tell it's really nice weather right now, and it's not supposed to rain the entire next week or so, maybe a little bit longer. And that was kind of the plan with taking off the tarps, is that we're gonna be able to get it done before the rain comes again, which is inevitable. We're in Washington. But now I'm not so sure. Depends on how long the rivets take. So yeah, kind of a bummer. I'm a freaking ding dong for not doing an exact count. But as we were going, as I was taking off windows and as we were getting ready to lift it, I just found more and more rivets that I needed to take out. So yeah, it is what it is. Gotta drop another couple $100 on some rivets and hopefully get them here in time. But I'm gonna continue here. We'll still be able to get quite a bit done without the extra 1,000 rivets. So gonna get back to it. Side note, if you're doing a bus conversion or thinking about it and you can't decide what size you want to do, if you're thinking, oh, I want to do a 40-footer or a short bus or like a 28-footer or something, take this part into consideration. The longer the bus, the more you have to do. Just, you have to take out more rivets, you have to put more rivets back in, you got to spend more for materials, more flooring, more insulation, you know, longer wiring, like all the stuff. So I guess take that into consideration. I'm still happy that I got a 40-footer because I wanted the extra space, but that's one thing to take into consideration, is that it's, even if the bus is cheaper than like a short bus, you're going to be spending a lot more in materials to actually finish it. I essentially have double what a short bus would take, right? So just something to think about, food for thought. Alrighty, I am working on the second sheet right now. Just gonna see if I can do it solo. We'll see if I can even lift it into place. It's kind of heavy and awkward. It's a 58 inch by 4 foot wide piece of 18 gauge. So I don't know how much that weighs, but it's not light. I'm gonna try to jam it up in there as far as I can and maybe even get this piece done solo. It's gonna be that guy right there. It's gonna start at this hat channel right here, slightly overlapping the first one, and then it's gonna span 2 more hat channels and end about halfway down the hat channel here. Not halfway down, but you'll see what I mean. It's gonna work out so that the laps are pretty good and pretty even. That wasn't bad. All right, well, getting that up there myself wasn't so bad. And you see what I'm saying? Like, it basically, the sheet slips between the rub rail here and the actual exterior wall. So it's just kind of sitting right here on the inside of this rub rail right now. But what I'm trying to do is line it up with the seams that already exist on the bus. Really just for aesthetic purposes. I couldn't do that the whole way down, but I did it as well as I could, basically because like this seam ends and then that seam starts down there, and that would have been an absolutely gigantic piece. And I just kind of wanted to keep the pieces as small as I could. So the next piece is exactly the same width, so it'll actually end up lining up with that seam right there, but there'll just be like an extra seam right here. But I think it'll look pretty good still. But yeah, basically you can see right up here, let me get up on the ladder and show you. It just slips underneath this lip here, and then you have the rivet holes that it goes into, and it just hangs there. So the idea is to hopefully get all this side just tacked in here with some rivets on the top line all the way down, and then we can go back and just all the way down the sides. Okay, it was a very productive day, if I do say so myself. I finished this entire passenger side, right side of the bus on the sheet metal. Well, I didn't finish it, but I got it all up there. Every sheet is riveted across the top. Now I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. And I know it's not all like riveted down tight yet, but I mean, looks pretty good. I'll show you from the back. The sheets themselves, I think is about, well, I guess I could just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 sheets of 4 foot wide sheet metal, and then I got a little patch there above the door. I'll show you from the inside too. So here it is from the inside. I still haven't taken off the supports there for the from the roof raise, but they're not holding anything up. We're totally on our own here. But yeah, I'll show you where the rivets are sitting. And honestly, got pretty good penetration on these rivets. It definitely, what I've noticed, and this may or may not be true for most people, but what I've noticed is if I go through and pre-drill all the holes, whenever either myself or a helper like my cousin comes along and drills into the same holes that I already drilled out, there's a chance of movement either way, like up, down, side to side, which has potential to expand this hole. And that's a problem that we ran into a couple times, where the hole, like this one right here, is too big on the inside, so the rivet catches the sheet metal, because the sheet metal hole is actually the correct size, but the hole in the hat channel on this side is a little too big, so it doesn't actually catch in that, and it has the potential to pop out, and it actually does pretty easily just pop right out. So I'm gonna have to go back. There's a few instances of that. There's a few on the back cap, like this one right here, and then there's another one somewhere around here, and then a couple on this hat channel. Just gonna have to go back there and patch up the hole or do something with welds. Shouldn't be too big a deal. But yeah, if you're doing this, I would probably either refrain from pre-drilling any holes until you actually get your sheet metal up there. Then you can just do one all the way through, or maybe know what you're doing, I guess, and be good at drilling, because I know I'm not the best at drilling holes, I guess. So that's just my 2 cents. But overall, very pleased with the result. I know I'm gonna be really pleased once everything's all riveted together and completed. But tomorrow is Saturday, so I have an entire day of work that I can do, which is great. I've just been chugging away after work on this side this week, and I was able to get this whole side done in a week's time, just after work. But with a whole day tomorrow, I think I can get a lot done. I got a good system going. Starting with this backside, just gonna repeat the process of this sheet right here. I believe most of the sheets are like the same. They're pretty much mirrored, aside from getting over that emergency door, because I had to do something funky there and get another patch just to go right here so I can still open the door. But for the most part, the sheets are mirrored in size, so it shouldn't be too bad. Alrighty, I just finished putting all the full-size sheets in the driver's side. I did all of them by myself in one day, which is kind of crazy. But I mean, I only riveted the top row. Looks pretty good. You can see there, I just got the patch left for the side emergency door. I got the patch for above the driver window, and then I still got to put the whole front cap on. I definitely need help for that, but yeah, pretty productive day. Pretty productive day for sure. I'll just cut to whenever I do the next thing. I don't know. I think it's gonna be putting on the emergency patch, and then yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be putting on something else, so I'll cut to that. Okay, so I have just completed riveting in the patch that's going above the emergency door on the side. Looks pretty good. I had to do some slight trimming just because I didn't want to have to remove a couple extra rivets up here that were blocking this from going a little higher. So as long as it's riveted in through one of these rivet lines, I'm cool with it. I can just do some rivets through this line to cover it all up, but looks pretty good. We've got from this patch to the back completely riveted in. So I'm thinking about what I want to do with this patch that's going to be right there above the driver window. Basically, I wanted to be able to keep the driver window because I think it looks cool. I like how it opens. It's in the right place. Didn't want to worry about putting an RV window in there. But I think I have an idea. So the issue that I'm having is I can rivet it into here just fine. I can rivet it into this support just fine, and into this hatch handle just fine. But I didn't have anything down here on top of the window to rivet it into, and the window's pretty floppy. So what I think I'm gonna do, I have this scrap piece of steel that I've been using as a jig to drill all my holes in the hatch handles. What I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place it right on here so it's pushing down on the window, and then just weld it in to this support and weld it into this hat channel over here, and then just follow the same pattern of spacing on these holes, and then just use these holes to rivet through. I think that's a pretty solid idea. I guess we'll see how it turns out. And then I still have, there's a piece of skin, I don't know where it is right now, somewhere in the dirty garage, but there's a piece of skin that will go, basically there's a gap here, you can see it. It'll come from the outside, go over this sheet metal, kind of cover up that little bit, and come inside and wrap around the window to hold it in place there. So I think the window will come together pretty nicely, but me and my cousin are going to bang out this whole side. We can probably get this done in under an hour based on what we did yesterday. I'll video it for you so you can see what's going on, but should be good with pretty much all the riveting except for the front cap and that little patch by no later than an hour from now. So let's get to it. Okay, what I said before about using that spare piece of metal to brace the window on the top, yeah, I'm not going to be using that anymore because this I just bent with my hands, so I don't necessarily want it to have any sort of structural importance. So I think I'm just going to get another piece of tube steel. Just needs to be like a little under 3 feet or so. But we finished the rest of it. I will show you an outside view. There are a couple rivets that are going to get redone just because they didn't sit flush all the way or they're a little bit wonky, but let me show you what we got going. Alrighty, so here is up until the driver window here, and you can see we got all the rivets in. I am going to do something like I did on the other side with this lapping right here. Sorry, it's not focusing. Just put another line or two of rivets down there to keep that, because right here it kind of comes out from it, just because there's no hat channel close enough to where the laps were. But the rest of it's looking really good. Let's see if I can get on this ladder and show you. Like, here's above the emergency door, kept the same lapping pattern. This one's over that one's over that one, so the water coming down will the door still opens and closes really cleanly. The hinges don't get in the way. There's no gaps, which is great. And then there are a few more rivets down right on the end that I need to do. But I mean, check out how flat that's sitting. Like, that's pretty money, if you ask me. I really wish we would have figured out that system for the other side a lot sooner. We could have had all this done like last week. I think we could have honestly riveted the entire bus, at least the both, like the two sides, maybe not the front and back cap, but the two sides we could have done in a day, like a whole day, absolutely no problem. With the system we got going with two people, one person drilling in from the inside, one person riveting from the outside, and going in like a typewriter fashion. So like one line, then come back and then do that. That's the best way to go. Plus that gets you from my experience here, it gets you the flattest sitting, if you want to call it that. It just makes it so much more flush compared to when we're doing like just one hat channel at a time. So I will cut this to whenever I think, well, tomorrow I'm gonna do that front patch over the window, and tomorrow's Friday, so then Saturday or Sunday will be spent finishing up the front cap, and then once that's done, we are officially done with the roof raise, which is awesome. Never really thought it would get done, especially this quickly. So once that's done, we can move on to the floors and just kind of go from there. We can really start making the inside of this a home rather than just creating the shell back to what it needed to be. But I'm gonna go ahead and put the camera down and revisit this on the morrow. So here is that little piece that I mentioned goes in between the gap between the window and this piece of sheet metal. The gap was only about that big, but this just slipped right in there, and it wraps around the window to keep it held into place, especially when it's riveted through. So this was just an original piece of the bus. Went ahead and just trimmed off the top portion of it, the portion that originally went underneath that piece of skin up there. And then just slipped it back down between this rub rail. Made sure to put it over the sheet so that we kept the pattern of lapping here. This goes over that and so on. So once that gets all cleaned up and, you know, grind off a little bit of this surface rust because I didn't prime those fresh grinds, I think it'll look pretty solid. Alrighty, it is welded. I don't know why I waited to take my jacket off until I started the video. It's welded. Don't judge me, okay? I'm not a welder. For all intents and purposes, I don't know how to weld. So, yeah, don't judge me, man. But got that guy in with some pretty mediocre welds there. And then I cut it a little too short here, so I just threw in a little slice of 16 gauge right there in between, and I mean, it's not going anywhere. Plus, if this thing fails, I think the least of my concern will be the sheet above the driver window. But it's not moving, so I'm happy with it. I'm gonna go ahead and throw that sheet in there, get it all fit. Actually, strike that. I'm gonna throw in a couple extra supports here in the corner because I'm a ding dong and I forgot that I'll need to rivet into this right here. So when I was going along, they didn't have any 2x tube steel, unfortunately. So I had to get some 1x stuff, and in my mind, that was gonna be fine, but I didn't put it on the outside here. So there's nothing for this to rivet into as it goes down and stay flush. So I'm gonna throw in a couple extra tubes down here, same on the other side, and then get to riveting. So it's not perfect, it's a DIY, don't worry, it'll be fine, but that's the plan. Okay, I kind of got it lined up like I want it. I went ahead and put it over this little sheet of original skin here, just because I think that would be better than potentially leaving a gap between the top here of this and the bottom of this sheet. There was a little gap in between that I didn't really like so much, but I went ahead and lined it up with the bottom of this top windowsill here, so it's pretty flush there, and I think that'll work out pretty well. Yeah, I think I like it that way. And then the front cap will wrap around here and kind of overlap it just a touch, so it'll cover up that edge right there and kind of tuck under that rain guard, and it'll come over the bottom edge of it. I think I like that. Yeah, I mean, if not, I guess I can always redo it. I'm not gonna put in all the rivets before the front cap anyway. I'm just gonna put in like this little bit here, just so I can easily get the front cap in and then get the top and the other side riveted in. So it wouldn't be too bad to redo, I guess. But yeah, I think I like that. I guess we'll see how it turns out. All right, so we got the front cap fit on there. We got a couple rivets in there. What was that? Smaller? I haven't pre-drilled them, so yeah, they're a little smaller. So we got a couple rivets in the bottom row. It was a freaking fight to get that thing up there. It just does not want to curve around and bend very nicely, but Jackson's starting to drill up there. I'm gonna hop up on the hood and start riveting in that bottom row, and then I'll catch up with you guys once I get that all secured in. It's on there and it looks pretty solid. I mean, there's a little bit of warping just on that passenger side. It's kind of hard to tell. Really, you can hardly see it. But just to get it into place, we had to pull it down with some truck straps, and that kind of bent it a little bit, but I'm not too worried about it. But it's up there. The lapping is like I wanted it, and the positioning is good. It's pretty square on this side, which is pretty awesome, but the other side is not as square just because of how I had to lap over certain things. But I'll show you one thing that is kind of a bummer and that I'm having to address right now is these gaps. So I'll show you the gaps here. So don't mind the mess, but you can kind of see the bottom part of this kind of curves down to let the rain and the water run off the gutter outside. But that means that there's a little gap on both sides of the front cap here. And only way to really remedy that is to put some little patches in. So I just went to Home Depot and they didn't have any galvanized sheet steel that was higher gauge than or lower gauge than 28. So I had to get some plain weldable steel. This is 16 gauge. And I got a little orbital sander to prep this for primer before I get it on there, just to make sure that nothing rusts. So I'm gonna go ahead and get to cutting these to size, slipping these in those little gaps, getting those riveted together, and then just filling in the rest of these random little rivets. Like I gotta rivet the rest of this patch over the window. I've got to throw in some rivets on top of the patch over that door, throw in a line of rivets down this sheet so that's completely flush there. And then there are a few random ones where the hole was too big to get a rivet to stay, where I'm gonna have to throw one in and then weld it inside just to make sure, like this one in the back right here, these two right here, that one, there, that one obviously needs another one, but this one, I'm gonna have to weld that because that one can just push right outside. So I'm gonna go ahead and get to that, show you what I can there, and then this is gonna be done. I can't wait for this to be done. Okay, so originally I had gotten some thicker sheet metal to try to match up with the correct gauge of what I use for the rest of the bus, because since this is 18 gauge, the closest thing I could find to that at Home Depot was 16 gauge, but it was also mild steel. It wasn't galvanized. So I got that 16 gauge and thought, okay, well, I'll just, put some primer on it, cut to size, fill in the gaps here, and that'll be good. That didn't work as well. The 16 gauge is a little bit too difficult to bend around this corner. So I went back to Home Depot and I got some 28 gauge galvanized, so I don't have to prime this or anything. It's just good to go. And for such a small gap, I think the 28 gauge is just fine. And it fit pretty well in there. It got bent a little bit on that corner, but that's totally fine. It's completely sealed off now. And when we rivet through, I can just make sure everything's attached there, everything's attached down here, and it'll be good. So I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side, just put a little piece in there and make it fit. And then this thing will be officially completely sealed off. Can do the rest of the riveting and hopefully get this done tonight. I am kind of ready to be done with this and to move on to the next phase. So, all right, so I'm working on the last of the riveting. It's raining outside, unfortunately, so it's a little wet, but that's okay. But it occurred to me that I have not shown you guys the real-time drilling and riveting and how I've been doing it. So I'm gonna quickly do one on this rub rail here and show you guys kind of how I've been doing it. Okay, gonna try to do this one-handed, but I've drilled a few here, but basically identify where you're gonna drill your hole. This is a 1/4 inch drill bit. It's a Cobalt 1/4 inch drill bit. Just a dinky, cheap little corded drill. I have opted to do the corded stuff because I'm really bad at charging batteries, but go ahead and just drill your hole. the cleanest because it was one-handed, but got your hole drilled, and then you go grab your riveter and air compressor. And once you're nice and aired up, grab your riveter, grab your favorite rivet of choice, stick her right in there, mandrel first. Identify your hole. I can't remember which one I showed you drilling, but I'll just go with this one. Go ahead and shove it in there if you need to. Give it a little push. Give it a pull. Let it release. Second pull. It breaks off. Release. And then your mandrel comes out and drops into the gravel, never to be found again. But then you have yourself a very nice set rivet. So yeah, there you have it. That's the process of riveting all this sheet metal onto the bus. So take that, multiply it by just about 2,000, and you have a skinned bus. Not too bad. Alrighty, well, with all the riveting done on the sheet metal, the last thing I need to do, well, I guess I probably don't need to do it, but I'm gonna do it anyway. It seems like a good idea. Is I'm gonna take some of this sealant. I went to Home Depot. I was trying to figure out which sealant I wanted to use, and I wanted to use something a little bit more robust than just like a typical like window sealant. So I went with this Henry Tropicool roof sealant. It's made specifically for sealing things like the roof of an RV or like metal siding on a building or something like that. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna run a bead along the top on the inside like this, and then wherever there's a seam vertically, like this one right here, for example, wherever there's a seam like this, I'm gonna go ahead and run a bead down there. And now it's probably overkill. I probably don't need to do all this. I finished this yesterday and it was dumping rain while I was working, and then I came back inside and I didn't see any leaks. The only tiny little leak spot I saw was like right here, and throughout a couple hours of raining, barely any water seeped through here. So that's the only leak spot I saw. It's really not that bad. So I'm gonna go ahead and crack this open, see how long this takes me to get just a bead on the top and maybe the bottom of these, and then around like the doors and the windows and such. And that will be done. There you have it, guys. That is a fully finished roof raise on my school bus. It's now 16 inches taller than it was when I got it from the auction, and I think it turned out absolutely fantastic. I'm gonna do a little bit of a cost breakdown for you guys, just so if you are thinking about doing this kind of project for yourself, you kind of know a ballpark as to what to expect to spend on your rig. All right, so like I mentioned earlier in the video, this is going to vary pretty widely depending on what kind of rig you got, how big it is, how high you're gonna be going on your roof raise, what tools you already have access to. So I'm just gonna put it in terms of things aside from tools, because you might already have your welder, you might already have your riveter, you might already have all your drill bits and everything. So just in terms of like raw materials, that's gonna be what this pricing is gonna be. And like I said, it'll vary pretty widely. So for my 40-foot school bus, I started out with 28 hat channels. They were 16 inches long, and I got them from Skoolie.com, and I'll put a link to the product in the bio of this video, or in the description. Those came out to $650 for the 28 of them. And I ended up using, I believe, 26. I used 2 of them to practice on, my brother and I. He was new to welding. I was completely new to welding as well. So we just needed a little bit of practice. So we practiced with 2 of them, used 26, so 28 in total for $650. I also got 2,000 rivets. I ended up using, I think, right around 1,700 of them. I still have quite a few extra, but I definitely needed more than 1,000. And for 2,000 of those, that came out to $642. The sheet metal, I got this from a local metal supplier. I think it was called Metal Supermarkets. This is a little bit ago, so I'm kind of blanking, but I got about 95 feet linearly of sheet metal, and it was all 4 feet wide, aside from, you know, my 20-inch wide front and end caps, and then my patches. So about 95 feet by 4 feet in total. And that came out to about $1,209, and they were all pre-cut to sizes that I customized. That's another thing that's gonna vary widely depending on when economically
you're buying something, what the climate is there. I know steel prices have gone up pretty dramatically since, you know, even since I have done this project. So that's going to vary pretty widely. But if you're doing a short bus, especially, you're not going to need nearly as much metal as I did. So yeah, $1,209 for that sheet metal. And then lastly, just regular dimensional steel that I needed to fill in any extra spaces on the corners, and then for my supports on both the front and end cap to rivet into. That came out to about $300, and like I said, that's going to vary pretty widely again, depending on how much you already have or how much you need. So all in all, a little bit over $2,800 is what the roof raise came to price-wise, which is not terrible. I was anticipating spending about $3,000 or more on the roof raise, just with how expensive steel is getting. And you know, ultimately I didn't have any of the tooling to start, so I didn't have a welder, I didn't have all my, you know, drill bits, I didn't have any of those specialty things that I needed to actually complete the project, so I ended up buying those. So I was a little bit over $3,000 for everything, including the tools. But raw materials wise, $2,800, not too terrible. And then I think time wise, the whole roof raise and skinning the bus and riveting took about 2.5 to 3 weeks, I want to say, which is kind of a long time, but it's not too bad considering I was doing the vast majority of it solo. Aside from the one day I had my brother and my uncle and my cousin and other people helping. And then I had my cousin helping a few days here and there with the sheet metal portions. So all in all, about 2.5, 3 weeks to get the whole roof raise done. Not too terrible. But yeah, that's kind of what you can expect, probably ballpark on your own roof raise if you're doing something like that. That is the roof raise. It is done. It's pretty sweet. The next one is going to be my subfloor, and if you can tell at the bottom of the screen, this is a subfloor. I'm not going to spoil the whole thing, so you can come check out that next video. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter one, just because it really wasn't that crazy to do this subfloor. It was just a strategy I found online. I got some insulation, foam board insulation, and then some Advantech subfloor. Cut it all, glued it all down, and it is pretty rock solid. So come check that video out. It's going to be out pretty soon. Other than that, I'm still rocking and rolling here. I think, what am I gearing up to do next? Next, I am gearing up to do some more fun stuff, some more stuff on the bus. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. Hopefully you got a little bit of something out of it. If not entertainment, then something. And come check out the next one when I do the subfloor. It'll be sweet. See ya.